The first modification to the Mazdaspeed. If you haven't seen these jet tags, by the way, you can go grab one really quick. You'll get entered to win this car. It's our first giveaway car, but the first mod we're gonna do is to replace the worst part of the car, the suspension. When you're driving down the road, you can hear it clunking around. Every sort of bushing and shock is just absolutely toast. To do that, our good friends at Ksport got us a set of Kontrol Pro Coilvers. They're right down the road in Mesa. And we can just go there and pick it up locally. I can throw back to a clip of us going and grabbing it off the shelf, actually. Escorted by Corey and Ian. Hey, it's a big YouTube guy here.
1,000 views today on a video. Thanks for all the extra views and the cash, man.
I don't even know how many sets of these I've had by now, but always nice black and orange setup. All the hardware intact, everything looks nice. For this car, like many hot hatches, the spring and shock is separate. Here's our shock for the rear. We've got our adjustment just like the front for our dampening. I think this is a spring perch is what they call this. So it sits in there like that. The first thing you do before you install your coilovers, we're gonna take it out to the street, get it as level as possible. Then I'm gonna measure how much we wanna drop it. I'm not gonna do it right here because believe it or not, this concrete is not too level in some spots. So sometimes we're like a 1/4 inch off and we don't want that. We'll go 1.5 inches in the rear. We'll go 2 inches in the front. We didn't even take the time to clean it. The suspension is so bad. We'll get to see if we nailed it first try. That one's spot on. This one will work. Nice. So we're about to put this car up on a lift. I don't want you guys to get discouraged. The brand Mazdaspeed is all about building confidence in the garage. We have a lift so we can get better angles filming. We can work faster. We do this every day, so it makes sense to have a lift. But this is something that even I used to do all the time on the ground is coilover install. 4 jack stands. Be safe. You can do this no problem. This is an install anyone can do. I'd say this is in between a beginner and an intermediate level install. If you've done simple things, change wheels around, intakes, you're totally ready for this. Rusted on.
Just gotta give it the old kick.
Oh my gosh. Oh, there it is. I don't think these things have come off in 4 years. Rotate your tires, my friends. These things are almost toast and these things look brand new. We take a little assessment of our situation. We got a yellow Bilstein here, clapped. Come over here. What we got over here? OEM guy?
2 different struts.
Yeah, I think this is OEM, clapped. This is oh my, look at the bushings up here. Randall, come look at this.
That ain't nothing.
Well, that ain't that bad, but they're definitely seen better days. Same thing. Blown out. Clapped. Alright. What are our rotors looking like? They got any life left? Yeah, you can see the waves. Like, these are not in great shape. And then this has a big lip right here. You take this to like O'Reilly's or something, and then they grind that lip off of it so it's smooth, and they level it. And you can keep using them, save some money. We'll get some drilled and slotted rotors on here though. Hopefully paint the calipers, because we want whoever takes this car home, whoever gets it, we wanted every little detail to be nice within reason.
Step 1, pull out your ABS cable. I'm gonna take off the sway bar, the upper link right here. Maybe not with this. Some of them don't have them, but for instance, if you have a hole in the end of your end link here, the purpose of it is to slip an Allen key. Sometimes there's different torques sometimes, however this application is Allen. So then we take our wrench while we hold the bolts, and then we can take it off. And you'll run into the same issue whenever you go to put it back on, so you'll need to use the Allen key and your wrench again. So on the knuckle here, we have a 17mm. This holds the coilover to the spindle. Our top hat bolts are 14mm. And just like that, it falls out. Here we have the brake line, which is being held in by this clip. Try that out. So. So to get this control arm assembly to drop down to be able to pull out the spring, I gotta disconnect the sway bar here, the end link. However, I was unable to get it out with just taking out this bottom bolt, so I'm gonna have to take out the top. And to do that, the top bolt is spinning, so it's kind of the same thing that you can see right here. We have to stick a Allen head in there to hold the bolt, and then we should be able to get it out that way. So to hold that bolt, I'm using a number 5 Allen head and a 14mm wrench for this top bolt. So to make my life a little easier, I'm gonna go ahead and jack this up a little bit. So now that I got this arm moved up past the bolt, now I can go ahead and pull it out just like so. Looks like I'm gonna have to separate this lower control arm from the spindle assembly right here. So we got a 17mm. I'm gonna have to break that free with the pry bar. I'm gonna take my pry bar, stick it in here, and pop it out just like that. So now that gives me access to be able to pull the spring out. It looks like I'm gonna have to take off the other sway bar end link on the other side, so I'm able to move this sway bar freely. Currently, it's being caught, if you can see right here. The sway bar itself is holding this control arm from being able to move all the way down. We need it to move all the way down so we can get this out and get the new one in. So now that we got the other side off, now I'm able to move this freely, which then means now I can pull out my spring and replace it with the new one. Then you're gonna just repeat on the other side, do the same exact steps.
Starting with the rear, we're gonna set the ride height for it, and since the spring is separate from the strut, the spring is kind of overall where you get your ride height from. A little bit different than the standard coilover situation, but that's how most of these hatches are, like I said. So I'm gonna go ahead and put our little bushing on the top here, and I'm gonna measure the total distance of the spring, and I'm gonna say it's about 12¼ inches in length. I'm gonna go ahead and go to our new spring. Has a little bushing on top, little pad to keep noise from being in the cab. You don't want metal on metal. Our perch right here that goes in the lower control arm in the rear, this is what changes the ride height. So we can get the spring to sit lower or higher, and it's gonna be in the car like this, so we can move that spring up or down. And this does have a break-in period kind of situation, so it will drop a little bit, about a hair, once the spring kind of gets worn in, so we gotta take that into consideration. What about my perch in? Got my rubber piece on here, and I'll measure the length of the spring from the farthest point, and we want to drop the rear about 2 inches. I'm going to go a little more than that because I have a track record of not lowering it enough on my first try with the coilover stuff. So I'm going to go to 9 3/4. I got my lock rings loose on this perch, so I can just grab the whole main piece and unscrew it, and that will lengthen it. That's about 9 3/4 from the bottom to the top of the rubber piece. This is a little bit unexpected. This is basically the top of this perch, so I have a feeling it's gonna be way too high. I don't know if it changes the geometry somewhere, but you guys will see what happens when we install it, and maybe we'll have to pull it out and adjust it. We can repeat on the second one and make sure that they measure the same, and then we'll talk about how to set up your strut. I was questioning a second ago that since we're using a lot of the length for the height of this perch, it's kind of on the higher spectrum. I'm a little bit concerned that it's gonna drop the car enough, but when you take the stock spring and you put it up next to it, you can see how much taller it is, quite a bit. So I have good faith it'll drop it a good amount, but will it be perfect? We'll find out. If you're completely new to this, and this is your first time messing with coilovers, you have, that comes in the kit, spanner wrenches. They look like this. You hook them onto the lock rings. They fit perfectly. They hook in there like that, and so what you do is you want to apply opposite force. They're kind of awkward sometimes, and what you want to do is push down. You push them into each other, and that's what will hold it and lock it into this position. You want to get it as tight as you can. You're never going to feel like a ratchet where you can just really wrench on it, because you only have so much leverage, and if these things slip, break your knuckles, not a fun time. So just snug them up really good. These are ready to go. And also, if you're new to this, the way you know what's top and bottom on the spring, the bottom side is rather flat, and they machined it that way, so it'll fit flush like this, ready to go. Now the main thing to think about with having your struts separate is having it too long, because then when you hit a big bump, it compresses the shock too much, and then it ends up blowing a seal. You have the fluid in here, the shock oil leak out, your shock doesn't work right, it's not ideal. I've had a couple of these hatches, and I've installed quite a few of these systems for suspension, and I've never really had a mistake kind of judging it this way. Never had anything fail, never any problems. So I lay my stock one on the table right here. I'm looking at the length, and it's quite a bit longer, but we lowered it about 2 inches. So I'm gonna do the same thing to this strut, to this shock. So we're at about 27 3/4. We could go to 25 3/4. So I'm gonna lengthen it, because we dropped the rear 2 inches is the plan. And this is just like a standard coilover. To change the length, you unscrew the bottom piece and loosen the threads. We got a long way to go. Then you want to slide your lock ring down. I'm just going to snug this up with my spanner wrench just a little bit. We might need to twist it. And after you drive on these for a couple hundred miles, you might hear some weird things. Come make sure you can reach through your wheel depending on what wheel you have, or you might have to take the wheel off. Sometimes these things can come loose and make a little bit of noise as you're going down the road. I've had to tighten them up later, so look out for that too. And we'll repeat the same thing for the other side. The last thing before we go out there, I'm gonna make sure that this is in the middle as far as the dampening hard and soft. You can see at the top right here. I'm gonna go ahead and click it all the way to the soft side, and then count how many it has. 1. So that's 30 clicks. So I went all the way hard. So now I'm gonna go 15 in to meet it right at the middle.
You ready?
You ready?
I'm ready.
What are you looking at right now? What's going on right now?
Oh, we're shopping to spend some money for the old 5.3, you know? Getting all the ARP hardware figured out, and much more. Where my gloves go?
There's an extremely high chance by the time you're seeing this, it's gonna be before we release this video, But we're getting this car ready to get rolling here soon, and it's gonna be driving much sooner than I think you guys even think, because it looks pretty in bad shape right now. We're making a lot of progress, getting a lot of things ordered, and we're excited to finally have our first race car on the channel. So look out for the 240 videos when those come out. I'm hoping in the giveaway process, it's a lot of details we got to work out on the business side, but I'm hoping we can work out some times where when people come and check out the car when they win, we can like go out to a racetrack and like let them drift a car like this and just have a good time together and do things like that, and include that in the package of not only do you just win a car, you get to come do some fun stuff with us. This is my goal. So you guys can maybe hold that to me, but we'll keep working to make it happen.
Put the perch in, and then
we can now pull it down to slide the spring in.
yeah. Got a 22 millimeter for the bolt right here.
Will that stay centered pretty easily?
Yeah, this little machined ring right here fits in center with here, like so.
Got a 17 mil on that one.
So now we'll put the spring in before we bolt that up.
We use these with lifts. If you're doing this on the ground, you would put a floor jack underneath here to help give you some pressure. Got those studs lined up. This is going into place now.
And those nuts are 12 millimeter.
Quite the extension you got there.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Squirrely, Steve.
Squirrely. Oh, we forgot the
Yeah, I got it.
bar.
That'll be going in last.
What do we got going on here?
So we are connecting the end links back together. And the same thing goes when I remove these. We will have to put our Allen head back in there. Put the wrench on first. It's a little more difficult now that suspension's lowered. We had a lot more room in here.
What size is that Allen head?
It's a 5. That's it for the backs. You want to rotate these things?
Yeah.
Jeez, I don't think my guy ever rotated them.
I did get a FedEx delivery of the new wheels, so look out for that also. That's exciting. If you're new here, we have a link in the description to an Amazon list for tools we use on a regular basis. On that list are these gloves that Randall really likes. So I'll leave those on there for you guys to check out if you want to order some for yourself. Throw them through the washing machine. Randall will use them over and over and over. I've used them too, I like them. Justin and Randall were working the other day on the front. We'll pick up where we left off. What tool we got?
It's a little spreader tool. It's kind of like a little oval. Gets back here behind the knuckle. We have a hole. This little tool right here will go in, and once you twist it, essentially you're going to be getting it onto this skinny part to where it'll spread the knuckle open just enough to be able to pull the strut out of it. It's a struggle. Put some lube in there.
We've got it out this much, but we need to go a little farther.
There we go.
She's been in there a little while.
Sheesh. There she is. It's also been leaking for a little while.
We're onto the front, 21.5 inches. We want to go down 1.5 inches, so we're going to knock it down to 20 inches. For the sake of myself being always too high, I'm going to lower these to 19 3/4. I've never gone too low before. I want to do that today instead of go too high. Let's measure from the top half to the bottom, 19 3/4. We're going to go out a ways. Boom. 1/2 turn in. We're gonna take our lock ring right here and get this guy down to the bottom. I'm gonna snug this up. I'm gonna tighten this up on the car. Now I am going to get my spring in here, right? So I want this top ring to hold this spring the spring tight enough to where when I hold that ring, I can barely turn the spring and it'll spin a little bit in here. That's when you know it's just tight enough. Then you take your lock ring on the bottom and snug it up to it. And now I'm gonna go against the two and tighten them against each other. Okay, that's about right. Ready, let's do the other one. Get a little nice comparison.
Higher quality Bilstein right here.
That is disgusting. Look at that thing.
Unit.
That's the one that was making all the noise, huh?
This thing's got freaking shaft sizes like massive. It's like from like a Caterpillar or something.
One thing to note before you install, if you've never done this before, is there's a little nipple right here. It's a little bit of a guide, so when you slide it in, where we stuck that strut spreader tool for the knuckle, that's where this little nipple is gonna go. Starting with our front left, which is our driver's side, take our nuts off in preparation. We might need to use one of these. This is a universal thing Ksport sends with everything. We might use one of these mounts for our ABS line or something. Did you stick a standard Allen in it?
Yeah.
And it worked?
Mm-hmm.
Please explain this combination you just pulled off right now.
Essentially, this little tool we have right here isn't opening the gap wide enough. I mean, it's opening it enough to barely get it out, but I want to be able to open it just a little more so it goes in a lot easier. I need to move this down here because that collar piece right here on the strut, I guess this one doesn't have one. It's got a little like
nipple.
I guess this one doesn't have. Yeah, so it makes it easier.
Should be good.
$17mm.
We're gonna go ahead and do the other side, and then we will come back to doing the sway bar end link, which also has a bracket to hold your ABS line right here. And then the brake line seems pretty happy right here already.
End link is a 15mm. This nut right here.
$15 and a
5.
Allen head socket on the 3/8 ratchet. ABS line fits comfortable. We're gonna do the same thing on the other side, and then we're gonna leave this free so when it's turning, this is pretty stiff anyway, so this seems happy. We're not gonna worry about it. Oh yeah. Don't get carried away with these ones. Not talking to you, but everyone involved. Got a little blowout on the GTI. Don't want that to happen up here. Alright, let's see what we got. Did you see that buckle?
Yeah, I think it's the wheels. It's got rust in it.
Holy crap. I even went a 1/4 inch lower than I told myself. The rear is pretty solid.
Yeah, really, it's pretty good.
Then that will settle a little bit. Probably should do like
They match the rear.
2 and 3/4.
All you should have to do is just loosen the top and let it droop a little bit, and you can spin it in there.
So you need to disconnect the sway bar then.
Yeah, it is the sway bar and the top hat. So hang a little bit.
Okay.
Just loosen your ring here, and then you can get it spinning.
So this measures 3 inches, so it should be 3/4. Unbolted the top hat, link for the sway bar. Now I'm gonna loosen this. Now we can just screw this into it. If we lower this where I thought we were gonna lower it, it bottoms out here. So I went ahead and just made this an inch gap. So we lowered it technically 2 inches. So let's see what that does for us. Every time I think I know what I'm doing with coilovers, it never really works out. Just kind of learning. I think maybe every car is different. The way the geometry and everything is, it impacts different things, and maybe measuring it off the stock one isn't a great idea. Still figuring all that out myself. That might be it. I think we can go a smidge more, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it dropped a lot. Bingo. Get our Dorito facing the right direction. Okay. I was doing this thing. Alright, come on, baby. That'll work until we get the wheels on. Hit that subscribe button, check out Mazdaspeed3.com, go buy something to get entered to win this car. We're gonna make this thing perfect, make it look awesome. We really appreciate you guys and supporting the content. See you in the next video.